Here are the 5 things that I never do as a happily married wife, and I want you to stop doing them too. If marriage feels hard and triggering and challenging right now, if you're feeling frustrated, resentful, exhausted, alone, hurt, disrespected, maybe just unloved or uncared for, and there's a disconnection not only between you and your husband, but between how life is right now and how marriage is, and it feels hard, and how you thought marriage would be just happier and easier than this. Like, just like your life should be easier thanks to your marriage, not harder. So, here are the 5 things that I never do. I always give you the best tips, meaning the things that bring you the best return of investment of your time and attention. Even more than money, time and attention are so precious today. So if you pay time and attention right now to these tips that I'm telling you and you apply them, you will have a great return on investment. Like a marriage will feel easier and happier. The number one thing that I never do is I don't question my husband's intentions. So I used to do this all the time unconsciously. I learned many years ago, and I teach my clients too, that your feelings, how you feel in your marriage, is not directly related to what your husband is saying or doing. It comes from how you interpret the meaning you give to what your husband is saying or doing. So I will just like make it practical. I was in the car with my husband. We were talking about something. There is a subject that we hardly disagree on. It was a couple of years ago, but I was applying exactly what I'm telling my clients to do, right? And he was saying something, and I felt myself getting very angry and almost like aggressive with how I was talking and protecting my point of view. And I remembered in the moment that how I'm feeling is thanks to my thoughts. So my thoughts in those moments was my thought was like he's not respecting me. And I questioned my thought. And I thought like is like I questioned myself like is he really not a respectful husband? That I found in my head and reasons why like he's the most respectful husband. Like he just has a different opinion. So the meaning that I gave like unconsciously in the moment was that he doesn't respect me, right? But I questioned that in my head and I realized like he actually does respect me. So I made myself from feeling um angry. Under the anger, there was hurt. And it was scary, like scary because I was thinking my husband doesn't respect me. That's scary, right? Like if you think your husband doesn't respect you. Um, and I transformed that into being actually grateful that he's a respectful husband. And I told myself in my head, he just has a different opinion. He has the right to have a different opinion. And this is when, like, I remember that moment very well because it's the first time I really did it like on the spot like this. Of course, like I didn't go from 0 to 100, like just like from nothing to the best marriage ever, like just like that. It's a progress, right? Like it's a progress. So if you do this, like even 1 out of 10 times where you're feeling hurt and disconnected, or you're just ask yourself, how are you interpreting? What meaning are you giving to whatever your husband is saying? Or doing or not doing. Most probably, your thoughts are he doesn't love me, he doesn't care about me, he doesn't respect me, he's lazy. So these thoughts are what creates your hurt and anger and like however you're feeling that's negative, it's created by your thoughts and your interpretations of things. And slowly, by questioning all my thoughts and finding evidence for the fact that he actually does love me, he actually does respect me, I started trusting more and more his intentions. And right now, like I never question them anymore. Right. Like it was true. Like nobody wakes up in the morning with the intention to hurt you and disrespect you and make you suffer. Right. Like people just wake up and they have a good day or bad day. Doesn't matter. Sometimes they might be disrespectful, but their intention, right? Their intention is not to hurt you. So even if my husband does things that might be considered as disrespectful, let's say like raising his voice or just being snappy. I never think it has something to do with me. And I always think like, oh my God, he's the best husband I know. Like if I look like just for the past week, he did everything for me. Like he has the right to, I don't know, like be a bit moody. He has his own job and things on his mind, and it's okay. I never get upset, and he immediately um if he does raise his voice like, oh, leave me alone, like he immediately apologizes, and I never get offended, right? So I never question his intentions. Even if he's not perfect, I'm not perfect. I raise my voice. I'm not like, I can sound disrespectful sometimes. And then I realize and snap back of it and apologize, of course. So we are all human, but just knowing the intention behind it is never, for most people are good. Most people don't have those bad intention and don't wake up in the morning trying to destroy you as a person and like mentally and emotionally and physically, right? Number two that I don't do is speak badly about him to anyone, not to my daughter, not to like to anyone, and not even to myself. Like I used to, at least in my head, say, "Oh my God, he's like that, he's like that." I don't do that anymore. Like that's very disrespectful. That's disloyal. That ruins a marriage. Um, I've seen people bashing their husbands on the internet or with friends, like that's very harmful. And I've seen people not talking to anyone. That's very harmful too. Those are the couples that you think they have a happy marriage and all of a sudden they divorce. And I was like, well, how is that possible? So there's like a middle way. In today's day and age, in the Western world, like we go to therapy, we go to coaching. I can help you with that. By the way, like this is what I do. I do marriage coaching for wives, and I help wives have happy marriages. And I do offer free discovery sessions. I'll link them somewhere in the description. So in today's day and age, we go to therapy or coaching. But if we do have a friend or an aunt, mother. Like we mostly don't have models like this in our lives, like women who have happy marriages, who we can go and tell them like what the problem is, and the problem, like express the problem, not that like my husband is so lazy. Maybe say it like from your point of view, or like what's the big problem in your marriage? Like, I feel like I do a lot more than he does. I don't know what to do about this, right? And have somebody who holds that space for you, who doesn't judge your husband, doesn't bash your husband, doesn't say like, "Oh my God, that's not right," like, "Oh, he's so lazy." Like, look, like you have to stop doing some things. You have to like give him the space to do things. Like if you have somebody who gives you a good advice, and she has a good marriage and she has a solution without bashing your husband or putting down your marriage or everything that you worked for like your whole life, then that's great, right? Mostly we don't have that. I think in the Eastern cultures, like they still have that thing, like asking an aunt, asking a grandma, asking like an older sister who has a happy marriage. Unfortunately, like most of us don't have that, so we have to go to therapy or coaching. But again, like maybe you create a circle of friends that you all decide together that you never bash your husbands. And whenever there's a problem or a challenge in your marriage, you're looking for solutions, not to bash your husbands, not to complain about men in general. Like that will never help you have a happy marriage. Number three, I don't hide what I want. So this comes from when we were little and we wanted our parents to guess what we want, right? Um, it doesn't apply when we're adults anymore. Like we have to say what we want. I would love this. I would want that. I don't want that. Like we have to get in touch with what we want and what we don't want and like clearly say it. We don't need to shout. We don't need to fight. Most of the times that we have resentment or we feel hurt or then we complain, it is because we didn't express what we wanted in the first place. And then we get something that we didn't want and then we complain, right? Like you have to start, like you have to know what you want and express what you want. I think like really know, just know yourself, what you want, what you don't want, and talk about it a lot. So people, like if I would ask somebody in your life, how is she? What does she want? What does she want in her life? Like they would know how to like to tell me, right? Like people in your life should know just by how you are and how you speak and how connected you are to what you want or don't want and who you are, your standards in life, your everything. Like people should know, right? Like they should know. You don't have to hide that. Number four, um, I don't do everything around the house. Like this is something that kept me resentful, and I see a lot of women being resentful because of this. I talked in other videos that we do this unconsciously. we do this evolutionally, like we want to take care about everything in the house. But when we do that, we become resentful and exhausted, and we become very ugly as wife, like the opposite of happy, not even unhappy, like just ugly as people, like annoyed always and angry and resentful, like not nice, like not sweet, like the opposite of sweet, right? And also, I like number five, I don't expect him either to do everything. So we do whatever works. Like we do, whoever has the more time and energy will do it. Like we trust each other, like we know our limits, right? Like we keep ourselves um healthy emotionally and physically, and we do our best and we do everything for the family. Sometimes like there's always somebody who will do the dishes if the other one doesn't, right? But I know like I have to take care of myself, like not to do everything in order like to be my best selves, my best self. But I don't expect my husband either. Like nobody owes anyone anything, right? Like we're in a family, we're in a unit, and we do what we can when we can, like, and we have again our best intentions in mind. Like we know somebody will do it because we don't do it like as a chore. We do it for the family, we do it for ourselves, we do it for the whole family, we do it for the home we all live in. But there's no expectations, there's no schedules on the fridge, there's no like hard expectations, right? Like nobody's expecting anything from me. I don't expect anything from my husband or my daughter, but somehow everything gets done like easily and in peace. So these are the five things. Let me know what you think and apply one at a time. I would say start with number one. That is the most important. Like question your thoughts, question your thoughts about your husband's intentions, and you will see that most probably he doesn't have bad intentions. He didn't wake up this morning trying to annoy you and frustrate you and make you angry. Like he most probably loves you. He simply maybe doesn't know what you want because you express it in a way that feels scary when you're complaining or blaming or being too frustrated and exhausted, right? And not taking care of yourself. So, yeah, maybe if I would say like an extra tip that I like, one thing that I don't do is I don't put the responsibility of my happiness on other people. Like this is my responsibility, and it feels so empowering and dignified to know that I can make myself happy. I don't have to wait for everyone to like bend over backwards to like to make me happy. I can make myself happy. And I know my standards and my limits, and I know what I want, I know what I don't want. It feels so mature. I'm learning. I'm learning. I was like a child most of my life, so I'm still learning to be mature, but it feels so good. It feels so grounding. I highly recommend it. Like emotional adulthood, like being responsible of how you feel, how you think, how what kind of marriage you have, what kind of relationships you have, how what kind of relationship you have with your children, with your neighbors, with everyone. I highly recommend it, like adulthood responsibility. Okay. Bye. I hope it was helpful. Let me know what you'll start applying. Bye bye.